Hey, hi guys. Thank you for tuning in to Carib Elite Mentor Mondays. Today we're going to interview our first feature resident of the week and our mentor, Dr. Lola Adepegba. Did I say
That's
that
right.
right?
Yes, that's good.
Okay. And just so we can introduce our host, my name is Denise. I'm a fourth year medical student at Ross University, and my co-host is Shanae Price. She's also a fourth year medical student at American University of Antigua.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, and just so we have a little background, so back in medical school, I met Dr. Lola on the island of Dominica when we were in medical school. I worked with her on the e-board, and she was the president, Donation Foundation, which is a club that she co-founded. So we have experience working together. And when I told her about Carib Elite, she was one of the first people who volunteered to be a mentor because she's just very enthusiastic about giving back and like mentoring young minorities about going into the medical field and inspiring them to achieve their goals. So we figured that would be the best person to do the first Instagram live with. Okay.
Awesome.
So Shanae, you want to take us into the first segment?
Okay. So, our first question that we have for today for you is why do you think primary care is so important within our community?
Hmm. Primary care is essential because if you don't have primary care, that's when you start to get the complications of certain diseases. So, cardiovascular diseases, things like diabetes can be managed by a primary care physician. And if you have a good relationship with your physician, this diabetes does not have to control your life. But we have people that come into the hospital every day, their second toe is literally falling off from complications of diabetes because they don't have a primary care physician, or these people are getting a whole limb cut off, or they're losing their vision. And it's something as simple as having a primary care physician can literally save your life. So it's essential. It's the basis of medicine. It's the foundation of medicine, and it's the way we stay healthy. Primary care physicians are essential.
Right, I totally agree with that. Um, and so, as a primary care physician, what would you say is the most gratifying and exciting aspect of being a family medicine resident?
For me, it really is the relationship. I love meeting new people. I love taking care of them. I love making a difference in their life. Continuity of care and wanting to build a relationship with patients. It's something that you really need to have in order to be a primary care physician. So my favorite is definitely connecting with people, helping them out, making a difference in their life, like I said, and just building that relationship, a meaningful relationship, a very meaningful relationship. And it's just beautiful when you built, because I worked in a primary care physician's office, and literally 3 generations of a family was coming to him. And so things like that make me excited and make me happy. So that's what makes me happiest about family medicine.
Nice.
Awesome. So, as we said earlier, you're a graduate of Ross University, which is on the island of Dominica. How did you find with your transition from island life to now working in the hospital, being a first year resident? Did you find your experience to be coming from international medical school?
I'm so sorry. The service was going in and out. Could you repeat that question?
Sure. I was asking how did you find your experience from being at Ross, which is on an island, to now transitioning to the US and working in the hospital? How did you feel your experience, or Ross rather, prepared you for working in
Yeah.
the
Yeah. So I think Ross did a great job preparing me. I'm a big believer that, you can be given you can take the horse to the water, but the horse doesn't have to drink the water, right? So you can go to Harvard Medical School and get the best education and still not make the best out of it. So given Ross University is a platform for people that like myself who couldn't get into a US medical school, and they gave me all the tools that I needed to succeed. And I used those tools, I worked hard, and I'm in a residency program that other US medical students are participating in. So there was no deficit. Um, I'm functioning with other co-residents. So I think it prepared me well because I used it to my advantage.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for that. I think that's something that other students that are interested in getting into medical school, that's something that they may be wondering, like, how will they be compared to their U.S. medical counterparts?
I'm going to brag on a friend of mine right now. His name is Benjamin Howie. Denise, you might know him. And he went to Ross University for the first 2 to 3 years. And eventually he transferred to a US medical school. This very same person that's pretty much a product of Ross University is applying to neurosurgery residency right now. And I'm almost 100% sure he's going to get it. So that's a product of Ross essentially that's going to become a neurosurgeon. So Ross can definitely prepare you for wherever you want to go.
Do you ever have experiences like when you're on the floor, when patients ask you what school do you go to, or maybe like an attending ask you like what school did you go to, and then when you say you went to Caribbean medical school, their response is like, you know, certain
Yeah.
thing.
Um, Personally, no. That might just be a personality thing. I fully embrace that I'm a product of Ross University. If you feel some type of way about it, that's kind of your feelings. I don't know. That's just the way I see it. But as for me, that's the university that I graduated from. That was the university that allowed my dreams to come true when I couldn't be accepted into a medical school here in the States. So I'm repping it 100%. So you can feel how you want to feel about it. But go Ross. I mean, this is the Caribbean elite, right? We are not apologetic about our journeys.
It's true. You're right.
Yeah.
Totally.
Okay, so we can go to the next segment. And we have a couple questions from our followers who are interested in the medical field. So the first one is, what do you know or have you heard about Kaplan's MCAT prep course?
So Kaplan is very popular. I'm sure you two know as well. Kaplan is very popular, but there are a lot of other resources as well. But Kaplan is good. They've been in the business for a long time, probably one of the first to do it. A lot of people use it. A lot of people like it. Me personally, I didn't gravitate towards it, but I do believe that their material was good. A lot of my friends used it for their board exams. They used it during medical school to study for exams, and they liked it. They did well. So I think it's a great resource. But there are others out there like Exam Cracker, Princeton Review. There are a lot of little companies that can coach you to prepare for these exams.
Right. So another follower wrote in and they asked, should I go into medicine? So as if I am a student interested in medicine, what can you say as
Oh,
a resident that motivated you to go into medicine or you found encouraging throughout your journey for
Yeah,
others?
I really like that question. I think that's my favorite question. Should I go into medicine? Um, God, there's just so many ways this can go. I think that question is manifesting itself in a different way. I think the question is, can I go into medicine? Can I accomplish it? Can I do it? Because if you're already asking yourself, should I go into it? There's something within you that wants to do it. So something is stopping you, right? Maybe you're scared, fear, and you're doubting yourself. Can I really accomplish this? If I start, will I be able to finish? Which are real fears given our career and the path that we have to go. They're real fears. But if you're already asking yourself and you've been battling with this question, do it, because that's essentially what happened to me after I graduated undergrad and couldn't get into US medical school. I started to say, do I really need to do this? Should I go into it? So I went off to grad school, into a PhD program, and I got so depressed that I wasn't going into medicine. So if it's bothering you and it's something that you want to do, you should do it, and you can do it. And I think that's what that person is really asking.
absolutely, absolutely.
Oh,
I definitely think a big part of medicine is dealing with our fears. Would you say that, like, as you go along, you go from medical school to residency to attending, do you think, like, your fears become less, or you just have a new level of fears to deal with?
um, I think you have new levels of fears to go with, but like anything else, it's a journey and you just have to allow it to like happen and you have to just go through it step by step. Don't There's always going to be light at the end of the tunnel. And definitely your fear will go down because you're starting to, you've taken step one, you've taken step two, you're applying for residency. So the dream of everything starts to become more real. So of course your fears goes down. But then July 1st comes around and you're a resident and you're like you said, you're dealing with a totally new set of fears. But then 6 months into your residency, you are functioning. You are a functioning physician. And that's like the most beautiful thing that you can experience is starting to feel like you can actually manage patients. So the set of fear does change. Once you get into residency, you're fearful about, am I taking good care of my patient? Am I doing the little things like making sure they don't get a blood clot or they don't get an ulcer? Your fears change, but it's a more realistic fear and it's a fear that you can directly, that you can address. So, yeah.
So this question isn't part of the list, but I thought it might be relevant just because we're on the medical school experience topic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what would you say to like students who fail their exams and their whether it's like curriculum exams or like board exams? Like, how would you encourage them?
That's a very good question, and that's a tough question because people have so many different stories. I know people that have failed board exams and somehow, some way they knew someone and they got into residency. And then I know people that have failed different, maybe the same amount of exams, and this is their seventh time applying for residency and they can't get in anywhere. And I can't play God with that because these programs look for different things and some people know people. That's usually a really good thing to know someone in high places. And that's how you see those people that give that testimony that, oh, I failed this, I failed that, and I match. To be blunt and to be honest about it, you don't want that on your transcript, right? We're already dealing with, quote unquote, the stigma of going to a Caribbean medical school. You really want to try your best not to fail any exam just so you can go through this process as smoothly as possible. In the event that you do fail an exam, pick yourself up, dust it off, take it again, use all the resources that you can, and keep on fighting the good fight. But if we're talking about failing step two 4 or 5 times, failing step one 4 or 5 times, I think we need to then think a little bit more realistically and consider alternative paths like physician assistant, nurse practitioner, registered nurse. There are other ways to still participate in medicine, and you are still a critical part of the team and you still serve as a leader. So physician assistant is an option. Nurse practitioner is an option. But once again, realistically speaking, you are putting yourself in more and more debt as you go along. And those are things that you need to be thinking about because a lot of the times we don't think about that till the very end and we're $500,000, $600,000 in debt. You do, because that money does need to be paid off and they will come for you. So do you want to pay for you? Do you want medical school loans up to $400,000 and you're taking this test over and over? You're spending $7,000 on application fees for residency because you have to travel and that's a costly process in itself. You just have to, is all of this worth it? You know what I mean? Maybe I should be a nurse practitioner. Maybe I should be a physician assistant. You should think about it. I can't play God though. I'm sure there's someone out there that's failed a lot of board exams and still match. But those are the exceptions. That is not the norm.
Okay. And that leads us into our next question. So this person wanted to know how many times should they take the MCAT?
Okay, so the MCATs, I just want to be transparent and say I'm a little far removed from that because that was like a good, I don't know, almost going on 10 years now. Um, for me, I remember taking it at least 3 times and just couldn't get a high enough score. So I don't really know how things are right now in the MCAT world, but if that is your only obstacle into getting into medicine and you really want to do medicine, once again, Ross University was started based off of a story like this. So a young man who couldn't get into college, medical school in the United States and came to the Caribbean, and look at him now. So if that's your roadblock to getting into a U.S. medical school, definitely consider Ross University or AUA or St. George's and take that alternative and move that roadblock out of your way and keep going. So I would say take it maybe 3 times. But if it's not successful, look for something alternative to do.
Okay. So, in picking a medical school, this person asks, how do you choose which medical school is best for you? What are some things that you looked for when you chose to go to Ross?
So I think in general, location is usually a big thing for people, whether they want to be close to their family or they want to venture out and try something new. Location is kind of a big deal. Number one. Number two, what's important to you and what are you looking for in a program? Do you want a program that has access to a, 24-hour morgue so you can always go in and practice your dissections? Or do you want them to have emphasis on research? There's some medical schools that are big on research and correlating that with medicine. Or there's some hospitals that are community hospitals that your hospitals will be, that your medical school will be linked to. So a lot of community work, giving back to the community, going to health fairs, things like that. So whatever you're looking for, research that with that medical school. And if they have that to offer you, then that's probably the best fit for you. And then also the cost of things, if is it more important that you move away from your family but go to a medical school that's twice as expensive, or should you just, stay with your family and have a cheaper bill? These things really do matter in the long run.
Okay, so
And speaking
the,
about money,
go ahead.
sorry, and speaking about money, how much would you say a person should save for the process, like the MCAT, the application process, and, of course, traveling to
Yeah.
go to the interviews?
Yeah. So the MCAT itself costs about $350, get plus or minus. So that's that. Then each application fee, from what I remember, can range anywhere from $15 to $25. So knowing how many schools you want to apply to, I think on an average, if you're applying to an American medical school, they usually apply to about 10 to 15. So the test is about $350. The application's about $20 a pop. And then depending on what states you get your interviews at will determine how far you're going to be driving, what your transportation and your plane tickets will be looking like. And that's your rough estimate right there. So anywhere from, I don't know, $2,000 to $4,000. It's an expensive journey from the very beginning.
That's right.
So
I think it's also important to note that it doesn't stop there. Like even when you're applying to residency, it gets worse.
it gets worse.
So
So
like you're looking at board exams that cost what, between 900 to 1500, and then applications that cost what? I don't know. You know better than I do.
right. I remember paying when I first chose, because I applied to 300 programs, and that came out to almost $7,000. This is just to apply. And so I
Oh,
had to
jeez.
cut back, and I was like, you know what? I think my max is going to be around 4K. I mean, I was willing to spend that much money because you've come this far, and it's like the last chunk. It's like, what is this $6,000 on top of this 300, 400,000 that I already have sitting here, right? So you just so it's an expensive journey from the beginning, and it doesn't end anytime soon. But there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Okay, so one of our followers wants to know, would you recommend your school and why?
I would recommend Ross, definitely. I think it will definitely give you the tools that you need to reach your goals. I would also recommend Ross because, from my understanding, they just moved to Barbados. So,
It's
so it's
it.
lit. you know, and stay focused though, stay focused, please stay focused. Um, so that's another perk. I heard that they have like housing for all medical students now, and it's beautiful housing, laundry, and all of that on site. So it's stepped its game up definitely in that department. And I think Ross is only going to get better. I think Ross is very goal oriented. They have a lot of statistics, and that's why they're so hard on their students because they know what you need to match. And, you know, give or take, some advisors are really good, some may not. But I think generally they come from a place of realism, and they're going to be like, hey, you need to get this and you need to do that in order to make sure you get where you're trying to go. And so, yeah, I recommend Ross.
So would I.
Yep.
So when you were applying for residency and you were going on your interviews, did any programs ask you why did you decide to attend a Caribbean medical school?
Yeah, they definitely asked that. Maybe on like two or three of my interviews. But for the most part, a lot of the interviews that I did have, they're Caribbean friendly, so they understand the journey. Most of our stories are similar. But I told them, you know, I was in grad school. I was very unhappy because it wasn't a dream of mine. It was really hard for me to study for the MCATs because I was working a full-time job and I had a lot of family things going on. I couldn't do well on that exam, and Ross has given me the opportunity. So, you know, all in all, everything turned out well. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So next question is, what has been most crucial for your success through medical school?
I guess just the desire. Um, you have to really want something, and medicine is not something that you don't have enough passion for it. You're just gonna wake up and try to do it every day. It's too demanding, to be honest. Financially, mentally, emotionally, socially, you know, it's too demanding. So I'm sorry, I'm being distracted by these kids. Um, could you repeat the question?
Yeah, they just wanted to know what was most crucial to your success while in medical school.
Right. So definitely the desire. You have to want to do it. You have to. This is something that I've wanted to do since I was 4 years old. So that's what has gotten me to. This was a long life dream of mine, and I was going to accomplish it. And that was the motivating factor. And that's why I think it's so important to go into things that you actually want to do because you can't fake your way through medicine. You have to be passionate about it. And of course, just dedication, being committed to the journey and really willing to do whatever it was going to take. Um, and it's the passion and the desire for it.
That's great. I think that's a good point. I guess the person, I don't know what they wanted you to say, whether it would be like, I don't know, tutors or supportive family, which helps. But I mean, I
Yeah,
think at the end of the day, it's really just wanting it bad enough. If you want something bad enough, you will work and do whatever it takes. So it's not, everything else is just like an accessory. It's just a plus, but you have to
right,
want it for yourself.
right, right.
Okay. So another follower asks, what is your best advice for ranking at more than one specialty?
Yeah, so I think the misconception is people who apply to two different specialties, they add the interviews. So let's say they had 5 in family medicine, 5 in internal medicine. They're like, oh, okay, I had 10 interviews. This is great. No, you've had 5 interviews because they're not joined. You understand what I'm saying? They're taken as separate
Right.
entities. So if you apply into two specialties, the hope is that you get enough interviews for each specialty
Right.
because that's what matters. So if you had 10 psychiatry interviews and 10 family interviews, then you're looking good, right? According to the algorithm and all that stuff, you're looking good. So you can you have good chances. You rank the medical school based off of what you want, the location, what they offer, their salary or whatever. Then you can rank your programs that way. But as far as joining the interviews and saying I had 5 internal and 5 medicine, I'm good to go, you're still kind of on the brink because technically you only had 5 of each. It's not a
Right.
joint, it's not a
Right.
joint count.
Mhm.
But if you're talking about deciding what specialty you want to go to, that's a completely different question. And that's something that's going to have to come from within you because you know what you're most interested in. You know what type of lifestyle you're looking for. You know what type of salary you're aiming for. So rank those programs based off of your desires, but just don't misunderstand that just because you have 5 and 5 of each, you're not necessarily having 10 interviews, you're having 5 for each specialty.
Okay, that's good. And so the next question kind of follows up from that. So this follower is asking, I guess if you apply to two specialties and you rank alternatively, like you rank IM and then family medicine, IM, family medicine, like what are the odds that you would match?
The ranking has nothing to do with you. Whatever you're ranking doesn't increase your chance of matching. I don't know if that makes any sense. I'm not understanding what the point of doing doing alternating is. I haven't heard of that. Maybe I'm missing something. I haven't heard of that technique where you alternate and that's supposed to be what, give you a higher chance of matching into one or the other. You rank the programs based off of you. The ranking program is meant to benefit the medical student. So wherever you want to go, don't worry about where that program is going to rank you or they're going to, they are actually going to choose me. You don't worry about that. You rank the programs based off of where you want to go. So if you want to do family medicine, rank all your family medicine first. If you want to do psychiatry, then rank them first. If you're choosing not based off of specialty but based off of location, then yeah, you're like, you know what, this psychiatry program is in New York and I really want to go to New York, so I'm gonna put psychiatry there. But there's this family medicine program that's also in New York, so you put them second. So that makes sense. But alternating, as far as I know, there's no technique to that helping you match any better or not.
Okay, great. Well, that's all the questions.
Awesome. I hope this was
Thank
really helpful for whoever's watching.
you. All right. So we have one last part of the interview session, and we call this minority magic, and basically it's just like to ask for little tips on like minor things, but that usually have a big impact on like the impression you get from like whether it's you're attending or program that you're applying to, just little things you could like the minority themselves can do to better their chances of making a good impression. And so this is actually one of my personal questions because I'm struggling with it. As a Black woman in medicine, what hairstyles do you think are inappropriate versus appropriate for women in medicine, Black women in medicine?
Oh, such a touchy topic, but it must be had because, like you said, it really is a real issue. And obviously, as a woman of color in medicine as well, I face those same issues. There's some hairstyles that I really want right now, but I'm not going to do it because I don't feel like answering the million and one questions about how was curly today and straight tomorrow, and how it's short today and long tomorrow. It really actually does affect me. But what I will say is the most rational thing that I can say is you really want a hairstyle that isn't going to consume too much of your time as far as productivity, right? So if I have to be at the hospital by 6 o'clock in the morning, any natural hair girl knows you're not trying to be washing your hair, styling your hair, doing all of that at 6 o'clock in the morning. You're trying to get out the door. That's the process. So for me, braids, cornrows is what I take to work. And even still, I still get the questions like, how did you do that? How long did it take? And it's like, oh, I just want to be normal. But as far as me waking up in the morning and having to be at work early, I just get the braids and I get the cornrows so I can get up and just go. Now, if I'm on an elective and it's I don't have to be at the hospital to maybe 10 o'clock in the morning and I have time to kind of pamper myself and play with my natural hair, I might leave my hair out that month. Um, the afros, like for example, Denise, you have beautiful hair. So I think you can get away with the natural. I think anyone can get away with it as long as it looks nice, it's well tamed. I really don't think anyone cares that much. I think you should worry more about how it affects you and your productivity, how much sleep you can get without having to wake up extra early to fix your hair. Um, but it's people are going to ask questions. If you're in that environment where a lot of people are not familiar with it, you just have to come from a positive place. And people in medicine are curious, so they'll ask you like, so is that your hair? We're inquisitive, so we want to know, did you add something? So you will get those questions. Did you change it again? You changed it again, girl. I had so people would tell me, like, I can't. Me and her pretty cool. She said, I can't deal with you. You change your hair again. And I was like, it changes every month. Just brace yourself. So you will get the questions and the stares and the compliments over and over and over just because, it's not something that they're familiar with. But take it from a stand of just an opportunity to educate. That's what I usually use it for when the questions start to roll in. And for me, apart from that, I just try to have a hairstyle that's going to benefit me as far as what time my day is going to start.
Great. I think that's some really good advice because, some of us are already struggling in that department.
You're good. You're good. You're perfect. You're perfect.
All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We really hope that, this was educational and you guys are really going to benefit from the answers that Dr. Lola gave. Please feel free to leave comments, send in your further questions, anything. We'll be doing this every week. And if anyone is interested in being the mentee of Dr. Lola, please feel free to email us at caribeelite247@gmail.com. She's always available for questions and stuff. And
Yes.
this is one of her passions. So she'll be very
Yes.
happy to answer any of your questions.
Yes.
Um, and we'll be back again next week, Monday.
It's
So
been
thank
a
you guys.
It's been a pleasure, ladies. And to the people watching, send us more questions. Like she said, we'll do this every week. And we really want this to be helpful and useful. There are a lot of platforms out there that are for self-glorifying, and we don't want that to be the case. We want to actually be a resource to you to get you to where you want to go.
Definitely.
Yep. All right,
Thank you so
ladies.
much for taking time out of your schedule to answer these questions and to empower and encourage anyone who's watching.
It's been a pleasure. All right, ladies.
Bye, ladies.
Good night.
Good night.